Well, happy Ash Valentine's Wednesday to all of you here and to all of you catching the replay. I hope and pray that you are having a blessed day. I think it's so interesting to think of like death and love all in one day, isn't it? Like death reminds us there's limits to this romantic love, and yet it was death that set it free. So that's pretty cool. And as we enter into a Lenten season, you're going to see ashes on my head. It's just call out the elephant in the room. It's an acclamation to the world that I'm going to be taking the next 40 days to reflect on myself and just work on the ways that I'm showing up in the world. And so I thought it'd be a beautiful day to hold a workshop for y'all and just see how I can support you. And welcome. There's not a better way to love on ourselves and take care of our bodies, minds, and souls. So I hope you brought your list of things that are stopping you from taking care of yourself, because we're going to try to take a look of all of that today. So this is for you. If you struggle to find time for yourself in your hectic schedule, you care for others easily, but you're often finding that you're neglecting your own needs. You experience high levels of stress and pressure, like balancing all of your responsibilities. And this is also for you if you have a hard time with boundaries, like you feel like you can't say no. If you're one of those people that say no and in your brain, and then you say yes out loud, or if you feel like you have to earn rest, you feel like you go to bed, your environment settles down, and all of a sudden your brain turns on. So you go to bed tired and wired at night, or you're irritable all the time and you just can't figure out why. Or maybe you just find yourself worn out from taking on too much. So are you ready? I am Nettie Walters, and I'm a certified health coach. I'm a licensed teacher, yoga teacher, author. I'm a mompreneur. My two tiniest little Valentines are almost 6 and 7. I have a 20-year-old and my husband of 8 years this week. And I love guiding overworked, undernourished women just like myself who struggle with practicing self-care through my signature formula of wholeness and holiness equals holiness. And today we're going to be elevating our self-care to soul care so that you can live a more fulfilling life. And I did it, so I know that you can too. And later on, I'll be sharing in the chat all the bonuses that I promised for those of you who showed up live. And if you stick it out to the end and you get a lot out of this workshop and you want to chat about it some more, I'm going to be offering something free to you that I'm excited to share with you. And so just so you don't have to take my word on it, I'm going to share this testimonial with you. This is from a client of mine who I worked with for about just over 6 months, actually. Her name was Amy, and she says, Nettie taught me how to give myself permission and to find the joy, how to choose how I spend my time. And the biggest tangible change that I've noticed since the beginning of this program has been possessing the consciousness of setting healthy boundaries and the importance of self-care without feeling like I had to deserve it before allowing it. This is an amazing journey that I'll continue on, and thanks to Nettie's encouraging guidance. And we're going to look at a few of these things today. So, despite being easy to understand, the art of self-care is riddled with a lot of silly myths and misconceptions. So let's debunk some of those most common myths and explain the truth behind them, shall we? Call to mind those things that stop you from taking care of your mind and body and soul. You can type them in the chat. I have the chat open. And we can look at them. And then afterwards, I'm actually going to share 9 of them that I see come up in my life and in the lives of my clients. So if you have one, you can type it in the chat. You can do it privately, or you can do it as a group just to support the community. So, excuse me, that's a good one. Okay, so going deep really fast. I struggle with self-care, self-love, putting myself first because the message is anti-biblical. Okay, so here's what I'll say to this one, this private chat. So the concept of self-love can be understood in a lot of ways, but it doesn't inherently depend on how you practice it, how you practice self-love. It doesn't inherently contradict Christianity. So in the Bible, it highlights the love for others and emphasizes how valuable and loved we are too by God. So you can interpret that as a foundation for self-love rooted in humility and thanksgiving. And secondly, I'll say that you can't heal a body or a habit or a mindset. You simply can't heal something that you hate. At some level, you have to be able to accept what is for what it is in order to move forward with love and in love. So acceptance, like accepting yourself for who you are, what you look like, your talents, it's a form of love and respect. True love, true self-love means embracing every part of ourselves, even those aspects that we label unworthy or bad or shameful or ugly. God meets us where we are. So we too must be able to meet ourselves where we are at. It's about stopping like this endless cycle of trying to fix ourselves and fix these parts of us that maybe we don't like, instead of loving ourselves wholly and in all of our human complexity. And this includes the part of us, we're not there yet, because there is no there. It's recognizing that there's beauty in every single stage. So on this Valentine's Day, this day of love, maybe you can ask yourself, how can I love myself more in a way that's aligned with my values? And maybe it's about facing and embracing those parts of us that we push away and we deem that aren't good enough. And these aspects are the ones that have protected us in the past. They've kept us safe. So we can be thankful for that. We can offer ourselves compassion. And I might ask, do you accept yourself for who you are and who God created you to be? And you can hold on to that thought, because in a little bit, we're going to rewrite our own definitions of self-care or self-love. And it doesn't have to be like the selfish, indulgent, extravagant, like egotistical me first thing. We do it for a reason. Like we take care of ourselves so that there's more of us to offer. And we're not enough. And we need God, and that's how we're designed, and that's okay. And we're called to love others as ourselves. That's Matthew 22. But you can't love others as you love yourself if you don't love yourself. And we're going to break this down here in a little bit. So I have another one here. I'm a caretaker, and therefore sometimes I don't take care of me. So let's get into this. I totally get that. 100%. It's so easy to just go, 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 give, give, give. So we'll get into some of these, okay? Number one, well, actually number two, but number one on the slide, self-care is superficial. And this is a myth because self-care activities have long-term benefits that show improved overall health and wellness. Most self-care activities are aimed at reducing our stress levels. So stress is like the biggest culprit behind many mental, physical ailments like heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, depression, anxiety. Anxiety is a big one for me. And then taking time off for our self-care, it helps us abundantly. It brings down stress levels, it improves self-confidence, it lowers blood pressure, it improves the immune system response and relaxation. So self-care isn't superficial, and it isn't just about pampering and indulgence. Like spa days can be magical and they can be a part of self-care, but self-care really encompasses a wide range of consistent practices. And so I think a lot of times maybe we're like, oh, I don't need something as much as this other person we're taking care of does. So I'm going to take care of them first until there's nothing left of ourselves to give. So it doesn't have to be superficial. And number two, self-care is selfish. I want to turn up the volume on this because self-care isn't selfish. Just like I said, many people perceive this self-care as a synonym for selfish. To take good care of others, you have to take good care of yourself. Your me time is just as important as like a regular health checkup or a regular workout. The time you invest in your wellness is the time that you gain to invest in ensuring others' well-being and health too. Instead of wasting it on stress and overwhelm, there's more of you to show up in service. So taking care of your happiness in whatever way possible cannot be termed selfish. Instead, self-care improves that self-love that we just talked about, which prepares the person yourself. It helps you become wholly engaged in supporting or helping those others that you need to take care of. And you can't love your neighbors yourself, just like I said, if you don't love yourself. So stress, though, stress can make you selfish. And what I mean by that is it makes you almost egotistical. There's a study in the psychology department at Queen's University in Canada that says that stress leaves you egotistical. So if you think about it, if you're stressed, it's all you can do to try to survive life and get through your days. And handling your stress better helps you show up for the people that you love. So I hope that this helps you see that self-care is not selfish. Myth number three, self-care is a luxury. People who are like taking trips abroad and that you're needing like these huge abundant resources and tons of free time, and that's what self-care is. But in reality, it's just an essential aspect of maintaining your physical, emotional, spiritual well-being. And this is not at all luxurious. It's one of the most common misconceptions because some people tend to tie self-care with those things that I just talked about, expensive workout equipment and exotic food and beautiful flowers. And none of these things matter if they can't give you happiness. Self-care is simple to practice, and it can be done with whatever's available to you at home right now. You can go walk in your yard. You can garden. You can spend time with your pets. You can listen to music, maybe a bit of meditation, or like a longer, relaxing shower than you normally allow yourself. These can make big differences. Striving to have healthy relationships with your friends and your family. These are also acts of self-care. It should be simple and affordable and accessible, and it's for everyone. I have a chat here that says, I felt like I spent 21 years on high alert and stressed out during my last marriage. And that is like true for a lot of us for different reasons. This is what I did in my last career. 15 years, high alert, stressed out. So then how do we help to calm ourselves down? And I have a worksheet for you. So I think this will be really good. It's coming up. So we take these high stressors and how can we balance those with tiny little like micro acts of self-care? So moving on to myth number four, self-care requires a lot of time. It's not true. There's no fixed schedule for self-care. It can mean anything from a 5-minute meditation to an hour-long session of yoga or Pilates or whatever it is for you. And for some of us, it's a few minutes with a cup of coffee in the quiet of the morning. Or maybe it's that 45-minute pedicure. And maybe those things have soothing, calming effects for different people, the same effects. So it doesn't matter how much time. What matters is that the action makes a difference to your happiness. And science says everything that I coach and teach is science-backed. Science says you only need 10 minutes a day for self-care. So maybe it's like 5 minutes one day and 30 minutes a next day. But if you're averaging like 10 minutes a day of self-care, that's all you need. That's all you need to make a difference in your life. So there's plenty of simple and inexpensive ways to practice. Let's do some rapid fire. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Number 5, I feel like it's an all or nothing obligation. This is one that I heard, like all or nothing. But self-care is about, and I hope you've picked up on this already, just relishing life's small pleasures. You can feel free to switch up your self-care methods at any time. It's about knowing yourself and what you need and what's going to get you through it when you're in those times of high stress, and what's going to maintain you when you have a little bit more time on your hands. Another one that I feel like comes up a lot is self-care is like booze and binge watching. So if there's one basic rule of self-care, it's that it should be enjoyable and constructive, not addictive and deconstructive. It should be an action that supports your entire well-being, that influences you to become a better person. This is like the whole concept of work hard, play hard. And in my mind, in my opinion, that doesn't count. Mostly because you're burning the candle at both ends, right? That's not self-care. That's not nourishing and filling and sustainable. Self-care should be focused on the healthy and rejuvenating activities. Number 7, you have to achieve your goals to earn it. Self-care is a necessity. We are designed as humans to need rest. Denying yourself self-care leads to burnout. And I think some of us are there in our caretaking, or our marriages or our career. Sometimes you need to stop and take a break and look after yourself, no matter how crazy things are around you. Like when you feel like you don't have time, that's probably when you need the most time for self-care. Restricting self-nurture, it's unhealthy because the longer you delay it, the more forcefully it's just gonna like elbow its way into your life. Um, I I think it was last year I went, go, 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 go until I got sick. And then I had to rest. I was sick. I had to take care of myself. I was forced to take care of myself. And if you're forced, self-care it's gonna manifest in ways that feel so far away from actual self-care. You're going to find yourself like overeating or being in a low mood, or you're actually gonna get physical illness like I did. And when you find yourself turning to these kinds of habits or being sick all the time, you gotta ask yourself what you're trying to accomplish. Put yourself in a position of choice rather than hiding behind like these backdoor behaviors or just waiting till you're sick. And number 8 on this slide, number 8 myth, going for a stroll once or randomly getting a massage, short-term effects, these are not real self-care. True self-care helps you unwind and rejuvenate and recharge your body and mind and soul, and taking time to be mindful and planning self-care activities is going to help you get the most out of them. Self-care does not have temporary benefits. It does not have short-term effects. So regularly caring for yourself can go a long, long way, even if it's in 10 minutes or less a day. Indulging in your healthy habits can like stimulate your brain's feel-good hormones, and it rewards you by enhancing the feel-good effects for a long, long time. And that's why, like after you do something you love, you're just like glowing. Like you're with that friend that just lights you up from the inside out and you're just like wearing a smile, right? or doing your very favorite activity. And then you want to tell everyone about it because it's just overflowing. So these things, they help lower our stress, lower the blood pressure, help us get better sleep, boost our self-esteem, improve our focus. So how can we make a habit out of self-care? So this is the very last one that I'll share for you or share with you today. Self-care is the same for everyone. No way. No single protocol is ever going to lead everyone towards a profound well-being. I use the word bio-individual. So as a bio-individual, you get to choose your unique series of daily actions to empower a vibrant lifestyle that works for you. Each of us has our own unique emotional and physical characteristics. We all have different biology. We all have different history. We all have different life experiences and past traumas and cultural upbringings. And just like that, we handle our challenges and our hardships differently. So how do we react to situations and unwind and recharge ourselves? And how we do that varies from person to person. Maybe you go for a jog or a walk, or you go swimming, and then your BFF spends time with their family and friends, and that's how they recharge. And there's others who need like to just take a little like 20-minute nap, and life is fantastic, right? So there's no one size fits all with self-care. It's different for each person. So here's your opportunity to redefine self-care for yourself. The practice of taking an active role in contributing to one's mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. That's my personal self-care definition. What is your self-care definition? And I'm going to give you a second to write it down. We know that there's no hard and fast rules except for maybe self-care is not boozing and binge watching, but any action that positively impacts your happiness, your well-being, the good feelings that come naturally just from self-care. How do you find balance in overstimulation in an overstimulated world? How do you find balance in an overstimulated world? You got to know your priorities and ensure that your basic needs are fulfilled. What is self-care to you? I like this in the chat. Someone shared something that once I do it just makes me feel free and calm. That's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move on just for the sake of time. And now that you've decided what self-care means to you, we're going to stop making excuses and postponing taking time for ourselves, okay? I'm going to share a testimonial from someone that I was able to collaborate with. And this is exactly what we worked on, and this is how it helped her with self-care. This is from Christy. I worked with her for about 6 months, and she said at every turn, Nettie listened and essentially held up a mirror for me. She helped me find myself at a time I was feeling very lost, and I will forever be grateful. Through our time together, I uncovered some things I needed to process so I could communicate in a more true and meaningful way with my loved ones, leading to a deeper and more authentic connection. I began to naturally return to creative spaces and prioritizing the things that were life-giving to me. Through this time, I found my voice after some very real and suppressed trauma and began establishing negotiables and non-negotiables for myself. So thank you, Christy, for that. So that's what we're going to do a little bit. She needed to work on some of her self-care. And so she needed to set some boundaries. But before that, she had to establish what her values were. I have another thing in the chat. Definition of self-care that I'd love to share with you because it's beautiful. Having time to myself to release stress and relax, even if it's just for 20 minutes during the day. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Okay. A quote from the book Set Boundaries and Find Peace. The root of self-care is setting boundaries. I love this point of view. It's saying no to something in order to say yes to your own emotional, physical, and mental well-being. So if saying yes to yourself also means saying no to other people, does anyone else besides me get a side of guilt with their serving of self-care? Yes, I see all the hands waving. Absolutely. So let's attempt to change that, okay? Um, we have to know our core values. Okay, this is what's going to help take the guilt away. When you give up your core values and you allow others to treat you unlovingly, you disrespect yourself. Saying yes to them and no to yourself, just like that quote we just read. So you open yourself up to being stepped on and taken advantage of. Not that you mean to, you just feel like you're being nice, but if you're pulled in 100 directions, you cannot be whole. And then you can't have respectable whole self. You can't offer your whole self to others in service with generosity either, because then it's more like depletion or regret. And when you don't set healthy boundaries, you say yes to everyone and everything, and you're not clear on where you end and others begin. It's enmeshment. And this is from Brene Brown. And Brene Brown says that boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and love me simultaneously. So boundaries then, if we kind of put that all together, are a prerequisite for compassion and empathy. And we can't connect with someone else unless we're clear about where they end and where we begin. And there's no autonomy between people, then there's no compassion or empathy. It's just all enmeshment, right? So we're going to write down 2 of your top values. This is a worksheet. And I'm going to put up on the screen, this is nowhere near an exhaustive list, but you can use these words as the launching pad to choose 1 to 3 of your top values. And if you're joining me live as a part of your live bonus, I'm going to send you a list of about 200 core value words to choose from. I'm going to copy this now. This is yours to keep forever. I'm going to drop it in the chat. It opens in Canva for you. And I'm just going to give you some space to, this is your bonus, by the way, pick 2 of your core values. So my core values are spirituality, health, and family in that order. And it was very hard for me to kind of come up with that, but it's a lot of time just kind of reflecting on this. So at least just choose like 1 value. And even if like you come back to this list and you change your mind later, that's okay. We're just the maybe one core value. And, oh, good. Family, acceptance, trust, empathy, amazing. Okay, so now that you know your value, let's move on. And if you're live with me, you're also going to have that boundaries worksheet. You might not have 2 screens and it's okay. You can always get to it later, but it's included in the link that I just sent you. So we're going to establish what's okay and what's not okay for your health and well-being to protect your values. For example, if my value is family, I love quality time as my love language. I love spending quality time with my family. Self-care for me is scheduling time with us to connect a few minutes every day. So if something would disrupt or distract from these precious seconds that I get to spend, then it's a no for me. And then I can build my boundary around that, okay? So if my value is family, I draw like a box around my family, And whatever's inside is okay, and whatever out is outside is not okay. That's my boundary. And just talking a little bit about the difference between boundaries and requests. A lot of people think that boundaries are requests. Requests and boundaries are different. Boundaries are about what you will do if the other person respects you and the values that you hold. So boundaries are about what you and your actions, what you will do, and they're not telling another person what they will do. That's actually making a request, right? So boundaries can be with other people, but they can also be with yourself. So for example, after school, I take 5 minutes with each of my children to connect one-on-one. And during that time, I have an agreement with myself that I'll not allow any distractions. So I put my phone away, I finish my chores or whatever I'm doing before they come home. I need this connection time. This is a part of my self-care so that I can honor my self-care commitment and my values. And then one last thing, I'm just giving you an example. Don't set a boundary that you don't intend to honor, because that's the opposite of self-care. We're breaking our own trust. We're neglecting our own needs. It's disrespectful to ourselves. So that can create a lot of like internal turmoil, and that we're trying to get rid of, right? So don't set a boundary that you don't intend to honor. So self-care boundaries. So here you can consider your value, your 1 or 2 values, and then write a boundary for your newly defined self-care practice. You can do this like in the worksheet I just sent you. You can write it down on a piece of paper. You can put it in the chat. Think about it in your brain. You use I language. Boundaries are with clear, concise, simple, true words. And I'll read you some examples as you write, so you can kind of tune out my voice, or you can just write your boundary. This is a boundary that honors your value and protects your self-care space. An example would be, I don't engage in conversations that make me feel belittled. I pause in to check with myself before I say yes to a new commitment. In the workspace, I take 1 to 2 minute timeout every hour that I'm at the office. Get up, stretch, walk around. I cancel commitments when I feel unwell. This is one that I just set in last winter. When I'm mentally unwell, when I'm physically unwell, I jettison everything. Just cancel the commitments. I got to get myself back to a good place. So I cancel commitments when I feel unwell. I read a page from a book every night. Another one can be, I don't do overwhelm. That's another one that I'm practicing right now. I don't do overwhelm. And this is something you can come back to. Need to be able to say no sometimes. That's someone in the chat. I need to be able to say no sometimes. Absolutely. So consider your value. Why are you saying yes when you mean to say no? So what's that internal experience like? Why are you needing to say no? How can you honor yourself in that way? Because the other person's reaction is not your responsibility. And last but not least, our third step is to set up a self-care ritual. So we're going to plan your self-care now so that we can triumph over those burnout symptoms in your life by planning your preferred self-care practices. So, in the link I gave you before, you'll also have a little worksheet to work on this if you're live with me. If not, you can just chart this out on a piece of paper. It's a 3-step process. So number 1, identify your stressors. And we've touched on this way at the beginning of this workshop. Identify your stressors. So what are important aspects of your life that list potential causes of stress for you? So what are you feeling stressed from? And maybe these come to you easily, and maybe you need to think on this a bit, and that's okay. It could be your career. It could be that you're a caretaker. It could be your family at home. It could be your marriage. It could be your finances, any area of life that's causing you stress. And number two, to counter that, almost like you're making a little T chart, right? What stresses me out? And how can I plan what counts? What counts as self-care for you? You can like enumerate your self-care practices, like just list them out as fast as you can. And you have your newly defined definition, your new way of being and showing up for self-care. How do you do that? What are those things that just fill you up? We need to do a few things every day to ensure our health and happiness, and these actions don't have to involve expense. We've already debunked that. The trick is to do them with dedication and to make them a part of your routine without that all or nothing mindset. Okay? So, what really fills your cup? Maybe it's a no gadget time at least once a week. I'm just going to list off some ideas that are popping up in my head to help you brainstorm. Maybe you are trying to do like no cell phones in your bedroom, so you do an alarm clock instead. And then at night, you can read your book instead of doom scrolling through the phone. Maybe you need to avoid your messages from your work first thing in the morning. Maybe you need to stay hydrated throughout the day. Get a cute water cup or something. Maybe it's planning time to cook or planning meals, finding ways to laugh, be with your loved ones, a movement routine, walking outdoors, journaling, a night out or a night in, depending on your personality. Is it a spiritual or religious practice? What is self-care for you? What habits make meaningful self-care for you? And then maybe you prioritize by incorporating just one of those things into your schedule. Help yourself feel free and calm without the guilt. And again, just for the sake of time, I'll move on to step 3. Last but not least, obstacles. Prepare for potential obstacles. And maybe you can lean on your boundaries here. These are challenges that would hinder your self-care plan. They may come up because that's life, but how can you prepare yourself in impossible plan workarounds? And as far as boundaries, like if we have someone in our life who kind of pushes back, I think I saw in the chat somewhere that it's hard to explain that you're not being selfish to other people. They don't understand the idea of self-love and self-care. They think it's like woo-woo or weird, or maybe they put their own labels on it. So maybe for you, that's planning out what you will say. Be like, I need time for me. Because if you don't know what you're going to say now, it's not going to come to you in the moment. If you're trying to protect yourself and your space and your wellness and your safety because you deserve that respect, let's take a minute to think about how will you respond or not respond if that comes up for you again. If you don't know what to say now, you're not going to know what to say then. It's just not going to come to you because there's going to be emotions and all of that. You're going to go into defensive, maybe. At least I do anyway. There's for those of you who are here, I also added just like a boundary, like little, I don't know what to call it, flyer or reminder or tip sheet that I hope that you find useful too. and these are yours to keep. You can print them out, take them with you. So what we've discovered here today is what self-care is, and what it isn't, how to make it self-care personal and meaningful, and how to promote physical, emotional, and mental well-being for self-care for ourselves, because we know it looks different for everyone. And this is what I call soul care. I gave a little hint to this at the beginning, but self-care for me is recognizing that your body, mind, and soul have needs, and is taking action to meet those needs, ladies, in each season of your life, because who you are yesterday is not who you're going to be tomorrow. And we know now that daily self-care is not only possible, it can manifest into something even bigger for you and create ripple effects in your life. Just imagine yourself feeling like satisfied and fulfilled because you spent 5 minutes of your day on you, and how much better you can show up for the people that you love, the people you work with, your community. It creates a ripple effect, and that's what I call soul care. It's a skill and it's a gift, and there's things that we must do, and there's a mindset that we have to cultivate that allows the practice of self-care to take root and bear fruit in our lives. And you can learn this skill. Let's hear from someone who's gone through my program that can attest to this. This is Alyssa. Nettie spent the time to dig deep with me to help me really understand why I respond and operate the way I do, so she could curate an action plan for healing and change. The biggest tangible change I've noticed since beginning the program has been the reduction in stress response, flight in my body. And the fact that my body is legitimately acting more rested despite increasing pressures is a testament to Nettie's ability. And just a caveat here, it's a testament to Alyssa's ability to show up and do the work. It's not my ability. I was just holding space for her, but thank you. The most significant overall change I've noticed has been my understanding of my identity as the daughter of the king. The knowledge, along with the guidance to realign my priorities in a way ordained by the Lord, has allowed me to show up as the best version of myself for my family, my clients, my community, and to do it from a place of rest. And I use that, even if you're not a Christian, as an example that her working on herself helped her to become more and have more of herself to offer. So typically, I'm sorry. So I would like to share with you a program that I offer, and this is the free offer that I mentioned at the beginning. If that's okay with you. Typically, this program lasts around 6 months, but I've gotten a lot of feedback for shorter, more affordable programs. So today, because you're here with me, and even those of you watching the replay, for the first time ever, I'm going to start offering a 4-month program. These are one-on-one personalized coaching sessions with proven support. You can hear from the testimonials and from the people that I've worked with. They help you stay focused and accountable. And this is soulful self-care. So this is like rapid progress toward your goals once and for all. And it's transformation where you want it. So my programs are always client-led. Wherever you need a sense of balance, of well-being, of fulfillment of life, you bring it to the table, and I provide the framework. Okay. And let's see here. I'm going to offer you, you'll get all of this in an email, but you're going to get unlimited access to me between the bi-weekly programs. You're going to get an ebook of mine that I wrote last year for free. And the program where we meet 8 times. And this is a total value of $2,225, but I'm going to offer it for over half off to anyone who's here. And I'm going to put the link in the chat. This is just an opportunity. Excuse me while I get the link. This is an opportunity for you to say yes to you. And this isn't like meant to be like a sleazy sales tactic or something. Um, I just know that when you're presented with an opportunity and everything inside of you says yes, and then you go away, and then you're like, the self-doubt starts to creep in, and then you start asking other people's opinions and all of that. I just want you to be able to honor your intuition in the next couple of days if you want this opportunity. Um, Otherwise, the other big thing that I wanted to offer you to do for free, if you're not ready for a full-on program, that's no worries. Maybe you've taken a lot away from today and you'd like some private time on a discovery call with me. If we resonated and you want to work through your worksheets a bit deeper, maybe work on your stressors, your soul care, your boundaries, your goals, whatever it is, let's do it. Okay. If you're ready and you're like, I need this in my life, I don't know what to say to the people who are coming up against me. I don't know how to implement this. I don't know X, Y, or Z. You're just raising your hand. You're listening to your intuition. I'm happy to collaborate with you for a full session to see what we can cover. And there's only a few of us here on the call, but there's going to be a lot of people getting this replay. So for the first 5 people, I'm going to offer a free 60-minute consultation because I understand it's hard to take that first step when it's something new and maybe you're new to me. And I just want this to be my gift to you. So I'm going to also put this link in the chat. This second link here is, and I'm sorry, it looks like I'm putting all these links in the private. So this first link here is to work with me one-on-one, directly, initial consultation for free. And the second link here in the group chat is if you're interested in the 4-month program. Just most importantly, I just want to say thank you for you being here. It's such an honor for me to work in this space. You gave yourself a gift today, but I don't want you to stop here. So if your self-care, soulful self-care, soul care practice doesn't involve private time with me right now, that's great. You can always find time on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you found me. Keep coming back. And I say this because there's no one else like you in the world. And the world is waiting for you and only what you can offer. You deserve to have a fulfillment and satisfaction in your life. You're brave enough to start a soul care practice. You can do it. You can gain the clarity to know what you need and what you want. And you do have the courage to go after it. I really, truly believe that. And I'll be here cheering for you every step of the way. I hope you have a beautiful Valentine's Day, Ash Wednesday, if that's something you celebrate it. And in case it's not clear, I believe in you and I believe in your ability to create meaningful and generous impact with your life. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat. I'll give you back 10 minutes of your time. And otherwise, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm wishing you many blessings. Thank you. Bye, ladies.